First of all, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Northland Community and Technical College and our aerospace site. I want to introduce our guests of honor today in this kind of unique ceremony, agreement signing ceremony between Northland and St. Cloud State University. And I'll touch a little bit on that briefly. But starting, and I'm just going to go from the end of the table, from St. Cloud State University and one of the co-PIs of the project, Dr. Ben Rickesson. Next to Dr. Rickesson is another co-PI for our project and is Northland's UAS faculty and program manager, Mr. John Beck. Next to John is pardon me, I hope I say this right, St. Cloud State University President, Dr. Valleda. Next to Dr. Valleda, of course, is NCTC President, Dr. Dennis Bona. And last but certainly not least, another co-PI on the project, Mr. Steve Sorensen. So these are our dignitaries for this afternoon. I'm going to give a few opening remarks and then we'll turn it over to our presidents. This is a really exciting day for me personally. This has been a kind of a continuing journey. We started down the path with the National Science Foundation, probably 5 years ago now, with our first application to them, which by the way was declined. And we kind of had to eat a little bit of crow and go back and figure out, wait a minute, how are we going to go after this? We have something really good here in UAS and Geospatial intelligence programs, and we really want to get involved and partnered with the National Science Foundation. And so going back and assessing all of the comments from the review team for the first project, we decided to take another route. And some colleagues of mine and I were at a conference in Florida, and we were talking actually in the Atlanta airport while we had a layover. And she said to me, you know, and she was an NSF, she had been involved with NSF and was a PI at a college in Washington State, and said, you really need to get involved with the NSF Mentor Connect program. And that's a program within the ATE division of NSF, National Science Foundation, that really works with colleges that want to become partners with NSF and want to develop, sustained funding programs at their colleges. And so I said, well, when is the deadline? And this was on a Saturday, and she said, I think it's Monday or Tuesday. So we didn't have a lot of time, obviously, to write the grant. But we came back, and within 2 days, we wrote the grant. There wasn't really an actual cash award that went with it, but what it did do is it mentored Northland to a seasoned, if you will, mentor college within the NSF organization. And so several of our folks traveled to South Carolina, I believe, and went through an extensive mentorship type training. And then we received mentorship for the next, I think that was in January, and we received mentorship that entire year, including helping us write our first actual grant to NSF. And we did that. And lo and behold, that's when we were awarded our first very small grant. It was a $200,000 grant from NSF around UAS technology. And so it continued to build, and so that program went on, and John and others and worked to develop drone tech and a lot of very unique types of educational experiences, both during the traditional year, but also in the summertime too, and not just for, traditionally we think of camps, we think of students, but also for faculty as well, both secondary and post-secondary. And so we continue on that journey. A year ago, John and his team applied for a large project grant, and we were notified, I think it was in April, that we were successful. But that grant is really what we're here to celebrate today in the unique partnership with St. Cloud State University. And I give John and Ben a lot of credit for kind of working over the last year and a half or so to really make that happen and really look at what type of value-added collaboration can we create between our two institutions, whether it's transfer programs, whether it's their research capabilities and in us figuring out how we integrate that into 2-year technician level education programs. But I'm very excited to see where this opportunity is going to take us over the next 3 years and beyond. So without standing up here taking up any more of your time, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, St. Cloud State President Dr. Vaeda.
Thank you, Jim. And I want to just thank President Dennis Mona. Dennis, thank you so much for inviting us for this presentation. This is my first time here at Thief River Falls. I'm almost in Canada, I get that, so I see the flag out there. But what a wonderful, beautiful day to drive up here and come to this really wonderful facility. So I'm really delighted I could get a chance to do this and get a chance to meet with all of you here. First and foremost, congratulations to the entire team. And I know it takes a team to make these kinds of things happen. This is a significant grant award. And the fact that we have a wonderful partnership with NCTC is something that we're all extremely proud about. I came to St. Cloud State a couple of years ago. And during these past couple of years, we've really rethought our mission and our focus and our strategic plan. And in our recent version of our strategic plan, we're talking about 3 things. We need to do a better job of engaging students, engaging the campus, and engaging the community so that we can advance student success, build a more sustainable university, and develop reciprocal partnerships. And this is a classic example of how we're actually doing that. Both of our institutions are part of the Minnesota state system, but quite often collaboration just becomes a buzzword. Partnership becomes a buzzword. And these are the kinds of moments that demonstrate both to our own communities, to our own campus, and our students that we are serious about partnership in advancing the capabilities of both institutions and serving not just our students, but the entire state of Minnesota in a much more meaningful way. So I'm delighted that we have actually taken on this task. When I heard about this grant, I was obviously very excited, and I said, well, tell me a little bit more about what's going on. I'm sure the program reviewers will share some more, but this is a partnership between St. Cloud State's Department of Geography and Planning, which is housed in the School of Public Affairs, with NCTC on creating a 2+2 program that will provide career pathways for our students who want to go on to a 4-year degree program. We are well aware that the state of Minnesota has an attainment goal in which we want 70% of adults in this state to have a meaningful, high-value degree, credential, or certificate program beyond high school. That's the goal that the state legislature has set upon us for the year 2025. Well, we're not going to meet that goal unless all of us do our part. And that means these kinds of partnerships, where our students get the opportunity to come either to NCTC or transfer to St. Cloud State, continue with their education, and get those credentials that will add to the vitality of the state and, frankly, the entire country. Because a program like this, of course, has tremendous reach as well. So we are doing our part in serving and advancing this particular goal. This NSF grant is an extremely competitive award. I think Jim was being very modest about what he said. $600,000 NSF grant is an extremely difficult thing to get. We know this because St. Cloud State has had a history of being successful with NSF grants, and we know it takes time and time again applying and reapplying before you can get successful. This year we've had a bit of a bonus. We're very excited. We just celebrated another major grant that we received, an Access to STEM grant, along with partnerships with 4 other 2-year colleges in the Minnesota state system. We just celebrated that event about a couple of weeks ago. And this is another example of that. What I'm realizing is it's going to take these kinds of partnerships to really make it clear to the NSF that we're making a big difference in our regions and preparing the workforce of tomorrow. So I want to congratulate all the folks involved, and I know these 2 certainly gentlemen played a big role, involved in putting this grant together, because we are one of the few institutions around the state and around the country that have been successful in these kinds of awards. And so we really should take a moment to celebrate this. And so I was really glad that Dennis said, you know what, would you be willing to drive up here so we can have this kind of event? Because I do believe that we need to celebrate these events. These are important and meaningful events that I think we have to do. So I'm delighted to be part of this event celebration. We will actually codify that with a signature. But I'm just looking forward to other ways in which we can continue to find ways in which our students, the region, and the state of Minnesota continue to benefit. So again, on behalf of the entire St. Cloud State community, congratulations once again to all of us, to all of you, for making this happen. I want to thank all of our guests for being here. I think some of our students in the audience. How about I call them pre-Huskies? You know, if you're interested in coming and becoming part of the Husky tradition at St. Cloud State, we're open arms. In fact, we'll take your name and addresses right now and make sure we sign you up. But anyway, this is really a way for us to make sure that we are doing our part to keep the prosperity of this state alive and well. So again, I'm glad to be here, and thank you again for the invitation.
Thank you, Chairman. Now everyone's well aware that I'm at an extreme disadvantage here. Because first, this is my second speech today, and I spent all my energy earlier on my first speech, so you're getting kind of leftover energy here. You recognize that right away. But second, what I knew when I was going to follow President Vaida, that it was going to be difficult to add anything to the very eloquent comments that he made. I'm going to try to do just a couple of things, one in a little bit of a recognition here. First of all, I sometimes have an issue with people that use acronyms all of the time in their speak. I know, Carrie, you're well aware of that. Mr. Retka here referred to the term PI. We got PIs. Well, what is a PI? A PI is a principal investigator. For those that didn't know that, not a private investigator that you might think would be the case. The people I would like to recognize first and foremost, because he's took the time to be with us here today, is Senator Stumpf. Senator Stumpf, it's very wonderful to see you here today, and yes, you do deserve a round of applause. We were having a conversation earlier before the ceremony started, and you're all standing in a facility that is an absolutely amazing facility, but it wouldn't be the kind of facility it is today if Senator Stumpf didn't do the hard work in the Minnesota legislature to get funding to help us build and renovate this facility. So we owe a lot to him. There's a lot that goes into an NSF grant, but part of what goes into it is not only the content of what you are doing, but they like to look at the kind of investment the community, the state, that everybody has made in this type of project, and certainly our facility is a big part of that, and Senator Stumpf was a big part of that. So thank you for that. Another perhaps unsung hero who's going to be surprised when I mention his name, Anton Berge. He said, well, why would you talk about me? I happen to know the behind-the-scene work you do in managing our grants and helping us put together those grants. So we do appreciate your effort in that, because these grants are not easy to get. You've got to cross a million T's and dot very many I's to make it happen, and Anton is always on that. And I'm going to take an opportunity today, at least publicly, to, and I know the students will appreciate that, but we have a dear colleague of ours who is back in the saddle and doing great work for the aerospace programming. Lynn McGlynn back there, why don't you wave your hand? Yes, we're going to talk about you. Okay. Lynn provides so much support for these students, and they're all very much aware of that here, and so it's glad to be able to do that publicly. Talking a little bit more just about the value of the partnership with the university in a project like this. It is what we are all striving to do as part of the Minnesota State system of colleges and universities. And you're right, absolutely right. Oftentimes it's just speak, it's not do. And this is a partnership that is working and is a big part of the future of partnerships between universities and community colleges, and part of what Minnesota State as an enterprise institution is all about. So we're very delighted. We know that working with the university partner, not only do we gain the research capacity of the university, but it really just elevates the status of the whole project and program and certainly positions us well to get NSF grants and other grants down the road as we continue to have this program progress. So I won't take any more of your time than that. I know the gentlemen here with the expertise in the project are going to speak to that, and we'll let them do that. But thank you very much.
Thank you to both presidents for those inspirational remarks. Want to bring up now the guys in this case. Sometimes there's gals as well, but in this particular case, the team that worked on this grant partnership, and really I think we're able to sell NSF. You know, NSF called us up or emailed us early this year and said, you know, we kind of ran out of money in the program that's funding this particular grant, and we can't fund you fully, but all of our reviewers felt there was such value in your program application that we want to fund you at some level. Can you settle for, you know, 2/3 of what you had asked for? And if you can, tell us what you can do for that, and then tell us what, you know, we're going to have to let go and kind of fall by the wayside immediately. But so we originally had asked for $1 million, and you know, we didn't get it, but we got $600,000. So in this case, beggars can't be choosers. But just the acknowledgement from NSF that they saw such value in our program application, including the 2-year, 4-year collaboration, and obviously the innovative technology and career fields that we're going to train students to go into, they felt that they couldn't pass that up. So, and that really goes back to our grant team. There was a lot of folks that worked on the grant, whether we were, you know, reviewing Ben and John and Tom's input and Steve's input, whether I was proofreading something, whether we were looking at the budget, whatever. So there was a lot of work from many people. And one guy that's not here today, Curtis Zoller, our Associate Dean of Aerospace and Ag, couldn't be here today, but I do also want to acknowledge Curtis's tremendous support and input into the program. A lot of the stuff wouldn't get done without Curtis kind of steering the ship, so to speak. But to really get some project perspective on the project, I'm first going to ask John Beck from Northland to come up as a co-principal investigator, followed up by Dr. Rickison as the other co-principal investigator. There, no acronyms.
Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate the introduction there, kind of highlighting some of the key individuals in the history of the college, the team that's really put this together and been instrumental in this type of collaborative effort and forming the grant application that was successful. As far as the acronyms, I know I'm one of those people who tends to use acronyms, so I'll do my best as we go through this to alleviate that as much as possible. But I want to give a little bit of background on the ATE program and some of the history from the college that's really led us to be a part of that community, and a little bit of overview as far as where we're going with this project and beyond. The ATE program, Advanced Technological Education Program, really is the only NSF program that I know of that focuses on 2-year technical education. And they focus on advanced technologies that have high impact to drive the nation's economy. That's the mission of the NSF, National Science Foundation Advanced Technological Education Program. This is nothing new to Northland. Northland's been working in advanced technology that's got high impact for a very long time. Specifically the aviation program here at the school. It's been in existence since 1959. A very long-standing history of training aviation maintenance techs before the federal standard ever existed for what an aviation maintenance technician was. Before the industry had those established credentials for both the training program and the individuals who are going to work on aircraft. And I think that's the same spot we're in right now with unmanned aircraft system technology, more commonly referred to as drones, and geospatial technology. Northland, when we launched the nation's first UAS, Unmanned Aircraft System, drone maintenance training program 7 years ago. Most people are asking what the heck we're doing at a 2-year community and technical college training in military technology. The understanding of what we're actually trying to accomplish or address wasn't there for a lot of people. And what it was all the advanced technologies that we've seen in the last few decades, where the regulations haven't necessarily changed as far as what the training programs have to incorporate, but NCTC has taken a distinct focus over the years to continue advancing our program. And with the addition of the Unmanned Aircraft System Maintenance Certificate, focused on things like the advanced avionics, electronic systems, the composite structures, fiberglass, carbon fiber, the IT fundamentals that you've got to have to work on any modern day aircraft coming off the line, but are all core concepts for what it takes to maintain a unmanned aircraft system. Beyond that, a lot of the team that is in this room serves on some of the national committees that are steering the FAA's development of credential standards for UAS maintenance technicians. We've got members of the team that serve on the Assure program, the FAA's Center of Excellence for UAS, and we've worked with National Science Foundation national centers on establishing those credential fields. Beyond maintenance, we've added additional programs as a result of being involved with drone technology. We added on a Geospatial Intelligence AES degree program 5 years ago. Most people pause at that point and ask what they're talking about, or politely nod when they hear geospatial intelligence. I like to use Steve's analogy, which is probably simplified for what it really is, but Google Maps to the extreme. Everyone's had Google Maps on their phone, satellite imagery, street maps, combining data about businesses, their hours of operation, telephone number, all with ease on your hip or in your pocket off a cell phone. Pretty common. Seems like it's pretty simple to utilize, but there's technicians that actually understand how all that information comes together and combine that, and that's really what the Geospatial Intelligence AES degree program is about. An aspect of that was small UAS operations. We've launched a small UAS field service technician certificate program, and we've been out doing research projects, which isn't necessarily in the 2-year mission statement, but as you look at the advanced technology that we're dealing with, a lot of small UAS activity has just come onto the public scene in the last 3 to 4 years. The term has changed drastically, and people have a much better appreciation for the power that drones and geospatial technology have to offer. So we've engaged in a lot of applied research projects, working with our local public works orgs like the Soil and Water Conservation Office, watershed district offices. We work with fire teams across the state of Minnesota, different utility companies, and have been providing training and education. The first project that we took on under the AT program was around expanding access and awareness to UAS technology. We developed the drone tech workshops, educator workshops, that have attracted educators from across the state, 4-year, 2-year colleges, high school instructors, but we've also attracted people from as far as Alabama, California. This last year we had some from Louisville, Kentucky, so across the nation. And this project will continue to develop those educator workshops, to continue providing access to educators to have that impact in the classroom, as well as working with industry partners on these applied research projects to continue exploring how to effectively employ UAS technology. And that's really a part of where the discussion started with St. Cloud State University, with some of these same type of public works organizations, Soil and Water Conservation, the watershed district offices, and some of the discussions had there were how do we start using this technology and apply it in a meaningful way. St. Cloud State's going to bring a tremendous capacity there through the Spatial Analysis Research Laboratory, through the GIS specialties, the land survey and mapping program that St. Cloud State have to help us continue advancing our understanding of the technology and bringing that back to the classrooms at the 2-year level, but also looking at ways that we can articulate and create 2+2 models for students to continue on to St. Cloud State University, as well as setting that model for a broader impact across the state, looking at the interest that we know we're getting from all kinds of different institutions for drones and geospatial technology. So really that's a key part of this project, is providing that education and understanding, educator workshop opportunities, and those pathways for students to be engaged with industry, to create job opportunities right out of the 2-year programs, but open up educational pathways as well to different degrees with the university. So with that, I will turn the mic over to Ben Richardson from St. Cloud State, co-PI for the project, to give his insight on the impact for St. Cloud State. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And thank you for all the guests and students, and certainly the presidents of our 2 institutions for showing up today. I must say it's an honor to be here today for the signing ceremony representing the Geospatial program at St. Cloud State University. I will say that I have a perspective that probably few here have experienced, having used various geographic techniques for nearly 50 years, which is starting to be a long time. As the geospatial sciences have evolved, I have witnessed and participated in a number of significant developments. At the beginning of my professional career, there were no formal classes in geographic information science at St. Cloud State, or really anywhere else for that matter. I taught the first class in GIS at St. Cloud State in 1988. Prior to this, the discipline only had 2 major techniques in use: cartography, the science of map making, and air photo interpretation. Drawing ink lines on drafting paper, putting tape on mylar, and the visual interpretation of paper print aerial photography. But things fundamentally changed in the mid-1970s and early 80s. With the application of large mainframe computers and associated software programs, these manual techniques began to be replaced by digital ones. These transformations were further accelerated and expanded with the use of cheaper, more accessible desktop computers. In this new digital environment, the development of true GIS systems became possible and began to draw in not only the evolving techniques of computer mapping and remote sensing, as photo interpretation was now being called, but also computer-aided design, land surveying, photogrammetry, and information science. A particular interest has been the continuing transformation of remote sensing technology. From simply studying black and white aerial photography, the discipline of remote sensing has made advances in the areas of multispectral sensing beyond the visible portion of the spectrum, and in the refinement of digital image processing algorithms. Just as important, though, have been advances in aerial and space platforms to carry these new sensors. The vast majority of these platforms, however, have one thing in common, and that is, by and large, the geospatial analyst has no control over how, when, and where this imagery will be gathered. This, of course, brings us to why we are here today. One of the most important developments in civilian remote sensing over the past decade has been in the development of a new type of platform: small unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, and new aerial systems, UAS, that have revolutionized the way geospatial imagery is obtained. Now, individual analysts can fly their own missions, control their own flight parameters and sensor packages as never before. The need to keep pace with such new technological advances has made it imperative that educators incorporate these developments into their course curriculum. This is why this NSF ATE grant is so significant. It will merge the strengths of 2 institutional programs: the specialized drone capabilities of Northland Community and Technical College, and the geospatial analysis and land surveying ground control capabilities of St. Cloud State University. Moreover, this grant will create articulation agreements and curriculum pathways, which can serve as a model for similar cooperative agreements between other Minnesota state system colleges and universities, and perhaps other state systems across the country. It is for that reason, again, that, as I said, I believe that this is a significant development, one that I can't imagine being really done anywhere else, maybe except here in Minnesota. I would also like to take note of another individual here that's going to be a very important player in what we are going to be able to do in our cooperation. Tom Oyne in our School of Public Affairs is our information technology specialist, and we have already been working on ways that we can integrate our geospatial software, our image processing systems and so forth with the systems that John's going to be bringing on board to help us gather and stitch together again the drone imagery and so forth that we'll be gathering, that our students will be working with in the classes and our developments in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John and Ben, for that unique perspective. We look forward to really good things to come from this. Very excited about the way ahead. And I know that from our work, it seems to me, having been involved kind of in this from the get-go, that we're really starting to expand out in terms of the broad reach of the technology. And, you know, as John mentioned earlier, you know, it started out as maybe a quote-unquote military technology, but over the last 5 years, it's expanded so much. Our land management agencies that we're working with, the Department of Agriculture, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, our local watershed district, our local soil and water conservation district, all of these agencies and public agencies are at some point moving in this direction. And so for Northland and St. Cloud State to kind of be on the ground floor once again, not only in training their future workforce, but also being able to have access immediately to the information that they're using as well is pretty unprecedented. You know, oftentimes as educators, we'd kind of have to take sloppy seconds, if you will, and wait until the technology became more broadly known, and with some of the unique partnerships that we have, and then I think this program is going to continue to develop. We're going to be at the cutting edge as the technology and information is being developed. So again, congratulations to the entire team and both institutions on the award. So we're going to get to the signing ceremony. The document we have is, we don't actually have a document from the National Science Foundation. They don't have a certificate or anything they're going to mail out, but we felt strongly enough that this is such a unique partnership within our state university and college and university system that we wanted to recognize it. And so we've worked up a document that basically broadly says that we're going to continue to collaborate and share expertise and continue to work on educational pathways that are really in the best interests of our students, whether they stop off out after Northland or whether they continue on to that 4-year degree and beyond at St. Cloud State. And so that's really that's kind of the flavor of the agreement, and that's what we're here to celebrate today. So I guess without further ado, Dr. Bona and Dr. Vieira each have a couple of copies. If you would go ahead and affix your signatures. All right, let's have a round of applause for a new partnership. To wrap things up, because I know the St. Cloud State folks, some of them have to get back on the road for other engagements later on this evening, and so I'm glad it's not raining and the roads are good, and it's come up here in about 2 months, and that might not be true, but wanted to give them an opportunity if they want to visit a little bit afterwards with media or whomever. So we do have a table of refreshments in the back. Please, you're welcome to stay, have some lemonade, a cookie, coffee, what have you, but again, congratulations to the entire team here. Thank you.